Good morning, members. I call Committee of Supply Section A to order. We are meeting today to continue the consideration of the budget estimates of the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions. I now recognize the Minister to move the vote.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I move vote number 23, resolve that a sum not exceeding $90,831,000 be granted to His Majesty to defray the expenses of the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions, Ministry operations to 31st March 2026. Honourable Chair, if I may, I have a number of follow-up questions that were asked by different members, including my colleagues from Peace River South and Salmon Arm Shuswap, and I'll be sharing some information as well with the member for Peace River South. The member for Salmon Arm Shuswap asked about an amount that the ministry spent on Gravity Storm Limited. The response is that neither of these expenses relate to the work of the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions. They appear to be expenses related to the work of the Ministry of Mining and Critical Minerals, so I'd encourage the member to reach out to the Minister of that area for answers to his questions, and I encourage him to do so. The member for Peace River South asked a series of questions about hydrogen projects, and I committed to bringing him a list of projects under active consideration. It's not a full list. There are other projects, but what I will do is share this information with the member, and he may wish to follow up in estimates after the lunch hour. Some of the questions. Further, he asked a series of questions about hydrogen projects, about the BC hydrogen strategy, and I'll also share information with him that he'll be able to review after the noon hour. And if he has follow-up questions, certainly we'll be able to deal with those this afternoon.
Thank you, Minister. I now recognize the member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Chair. It's as the Minister and I spoke in the interim before we started today. It's with a pretty heavy heart that we're all here today doing the work of the people, and I just want to recognize that the tragedy that's befallen our beautiful province and the incredible citizens that were affected. That being said, we will get on with the work of the people, and thank you for the information, Minister, with respect to, that was actually my first line of questioning, so I'm going to skip ahead. When I did have the opportunity to go back and review our last interaction on April 10th, reviewing the Hansard, which again, great work by our good friends at Hansard. At 3 hours 48 minutes approximately, the Minister had indicated that the province required a strong and diverse amount of base power augmented by other sources. My question to the Minister is, would the Minister consider thorium molten salt reactors as part of that solution?
Recognizing the Minister.
Thank you very much, and through you to the member, Honourable Chair. I think the member is quite right. It's my view that we need to build out our electricity capacity, our clean energy capacity in BC. We saw the start of that with the decisions that went forward on our call for power and the decisions that were made subsequent to that. It's my expectation that we will continue and doing more calls for power, including looking through requests for information at options for base power as well, renewable base power as well. The member will know, and I think really what he's asking is sometimes called small nuclear, is what he's asking about. And those will not be considered in this process for a couple of reasons. One, in our view, and in my view, the technology is not nearly ready yet. Other jurisdictions are reviewing it, and I think in this area, sometimes it's good to be first, sometimes it's good to see proof of concept. Right? And there's lots of talk and promotion, there's very little proof of concept. What we know is that this will be well beyond the cost of other potential sources of power, one. And two, that we live, many of us live on fault lines, and that this, given the myriad of options available for renewable energy in BC, is not needed in that call. But what I did say and what I believe is that we have to produce both the base energy and sometimes the intermittent energy to drive BC's clean energy future, to drive our economic future, and we are going to seek widely. And as the member will know, I would add that consideration of that is actually would actually be contrary to the Clean Energy Act as it stands, right? And put in place and by the previous government. But we are going to be looking widely at renewable options for energy, including base energy, because I think it's critically important for the economic future of the province. These aren't final decisions about anything, but I think in the present context, because we're talking about immediate calls, I don't see there being a role in those calls for small nuclear.
Recognizing the member for Peace River South.
Thank you for that answer. What I would like to put on the record, though, is that the mention was made that the technology is not ready. I would suggest that doing research, it was relatively easy to uncover that there's been an extensive amount of research done by the United States back in the 50s and 60s on this exact technology, and that there actually is an active plant that has started up in China. And I think there is a further, what I would like to put on the record, everyone is scared of that concept, and perhaps for correct reason, for the simple fact of things that have gone wrong in the past. If we, as professionals in this area, understand what a thorium molten salt reactor actually is, the fuel acts as the coolant. So it needs to be activated to run. So if something goes wrong, it shuts itself down. The reason that I mention that is, I guess my question back to the minister through the chair is, would you reconsider that stance?
Recognizing the minister.
Well, I think the member shouldn't get me wrong. I mean, Canada and the world has been heavily involved in nuclear technology for a long time. We all remember the central part, including many political debates in the country, that can-do reactors played in our political debate, mostly nationally and mostly not here. My point is twofold, that it's true other jurisdictions, including China and potentially American jurisdictions and other Canadian jurisdictions may be looking in this area. And as they develop that, more information and proof of concept will be developed. But regardless, I would say on the economics of it, not close to being competitive, contrary to the current act, and not needed given the many other options we have at this time. And so that's why and appreciate that there may be a difference of opinion on those things. I don't think there can be a difference of opinion really on the question of cost at the moment. And so, there can't be a difference of opinion on the law, and there can't be a difference of opinion that other jurisdictions, while considering it, very actively considering it, including Canadian jurisdictions, I would say, including Ontario, and I believe New Brunswick, and some American jurisdictions are looking at this. My point is that because they're doing that, in part, we of course should have our eyes open to what they're doing and reviewing it. I'm just saying that right now, as we deal with the energy needs of the province on issues, broad issues of safety, we're in an earthquake zone, but also, I would argue, issues of cost and efficiency of approach, we have many better options, and we need to consider those options in the next short while.
Recognizing the member for Peace River South.
Thank you for your answer, Minister. I would follow that up with in the absence of using that technology or similar technology, offering a very solid 24/7 baseload power, how would the minister plan to address gaps in energy supply from intermittent renewables like solar and wind, perhaps outside of something like the shortage of hydro that we may be experiencing?
Recognizing the minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. And to the member, I'd say that we have options aplenty here in British Columbia for renewable energy resources. And we need to explore those in formal processes. In other words, ask both BC Hydro and proponents to come forward with proposals in a process, and that's exactly what we intend to do. I think if you look at some of the options around batteries, some of the options around geothermal, some of the options and continuing options around hydroelectric power, and many others, there are real options for us to address. And so I think, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Chair, it's not just a question of what I may believe, but a question of seeking that out and providing a way for that to come forward, because I think the options are considerable for us. Both traditional options that have been part of BC, which include hydroelectric power, of course, dams, and also new forms of power which are increasingly demonstrating their viability in the world. And I think this is a period of opportunity. I believe in our province. I believe we can become a clean energy superpower. And because of that, and this will drive economic growth in regions such as the Northwest, but also regions such as the Northeast, allow us, in fact, to support traditional oil and gas industries with cleaner technology and develop products in BC that nobody else in the world has, or very few, so that anyone else in the world has. So this is an opportunity for our province, and I think we need to lean in to the possibility of renewable electricity. We need to lean in, as some people are going in another direction, including the U.S. President, because I think where the market is going in the United States is towards renewable, and we see it in jurisdictions as varied as Texas and Iowa and all other jurisdictions in the United States. I believe that this is a fundamental opportunity, and the contribution of BC Hydro over the years and the people of BC in building our hydro system creates an extraordinary support for that effort. We have great opportunity here, and we need to pursue it.
Recognizing the member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to jump back to LNG at this point, and where we had left off when we last had the opportunity to have this conversation. I had asked the question, will the government commit to consulting with industry to find a balance between protecting the environment and providing a stable business atmosphere whereby long-term investment is possible? And if so, what is the plan in doing that?
Recognizing...
excuse me.
Minister. Thank you. Recognizing the minister.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Chair. And I think I love the fact that the member for Peace River South has raised the issue of LNG 3 minutes before adjournment. I think that's a higher level of estimate strategy than I'm usually aware of. So what I may do is just give a brief answer and then ask the House to report progress. I think we had a little bit of this discussion last time. I think the member for Surrey South even became quite animated in that discussion, and I don't want to inspire him here today. So I will be more blander in my response. But I would say that there are significant opportunities, and we've seen that in BC. We have, through electrification, projects that are the lowest emission LNG in the world that are proceeding, that are under construction, 3 of them under construction. And the first LNG will be exported from British Columbia this summer. And I think that will be a significant moment for our province. The province's policy and strategy, and we talked about this before, focused on course returns to the province, on local communities such as Kitimat, on climate change objectives, on the role and the involvement of First Nations in those processes. And I think that policy continues to be in place, and it's proven itself to be successful. When we instituted that policy under former Premier Horgan, there were no approved LNG projects, no FIDs. And now we have 3, and the quantum of investment, I was told I underestimated in our discussions a couple of weeks ago, is about $42 billion, which is significant for our province, and leaves us with the lowest emission LNG in the world. So we believe that the approach that we've taken, balancing off all those considerations, including jobs for people in BC, including returns to community, including climate change, and including a significant role for First Nations, continues to be the right approach as we approach further investment decisions, for example, by LNG Canada, but also in other projects. So we're going to continue to pursue that approach, that balanced approach that we believe is working for people in BC. And with that, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Chair, I move that the House rise, report progress, and ask leave to sit again.
Thank you, Minister. Members have heard the question. Those in favour, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. This committee stands adjourned.